My name is Dr. Kareem Griffith. I have a master's in microbiology and I have a doctorate in pharmacy, and I have over 22 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry. And due to the nature of my upbringing, you guys, I had to have a complete paradigm shift for me to even be here talking to you today, because I did not want to share this product. I really actually did not want it to work. And even though I did all the research, I was like, no, 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 no. This cannot be happening. It looks too good to be true. And because it looks too good to be true, it must be too good to be true. So I said, let me go get my dad. My dad is an internal family medicine doctor, and my brother is an emergency room doctor. And I said, listen, guys, this has been brought to my attention. You guys know I have congestive heart failure, and mom has rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease. We need to check this out for real and see if this thing is work and see if this thing is safe. Because if it is, maybe I can use it and it can help my heart, because it has something to do with visceral fat. I don't even know really too much about visceral, but let's look it up and see what all these things are. And they said, okay, if you say so, let's do it. And so I sent them to Reset and Win, which is where Haley sent me, which is a great resource that you guys should all be signed up for to use for research. And they had everything on there from podcasts to a section that actually was titled Due Diligence. And in that section, they also had all of these different clinical trials. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of information here. So I start going down the rabbit hole and I'm looking at all of these different clinical trials. And I say, man, this is a lot, but what's the mechanism of action? Like, how does this thing work? And I couldn't find exactly how Fix works, because I discovered later that there's no clinical trials on Fix. There are clinical trials and clinical studies on hops and on matured hop extract that go back to 1953. And it was overwhelming. I said, there's so much information here. I just want to look at the 7 human clinical studies so that I can understand what we have our hands on here. And what I did was, and what most people will do if they know how to do this type of research, is they will look for something very specific. And that is something that's double blind, meaning that the person who's giving it and the person taking it has no idea if they either have the placebo or if they're giving the actual product. Something that's randomized, so that no one can say, hey, come sign up for this. And, oh, I know you. I'm going to give you the actual product because I want you to have good results. It's randomized. So double blind, randomized, placebo controlled, and parallel study. Parallel meaning side by side, week by week. Every time you check in, we're going to evaluate the exact same parameters, and therefore our data will be clinically significant. And I said, okay, wow, there's about 6 or 7 of those done on humans. Great. And there's about 100 to 200 to 350 or more done on animal studies and done under the microscope. And I said, wow, that is powerful. Normally, supplements don't have all this type of data available. So I was able to discover with my dad and my brother that there are 4 main mechanisms of action. One was it reduces inflammation. Another one is that it stabilizes blood sugar. Another one is that it stimulates thermogenesis. And what I should probably do right now, you guys, is actually bring up my screen, because I do a presentation where I go over these things, and I'm a visual learner. So while I'm talking about these things, let me bring up my slides that I normally show. Tell me if you guys can see this. And I'm going to go over a few things with you. Okay, actually, let me move this one down here as part of my story. But what I want to do here is just go over what I found and how I went from being so skeptical, you guys, to being someone who's a believer. And so I've started sharing with you part of the story. just a few more minutes longer. And I do want to give this disclaimer. As a healthcare provider, I should have done this at the very beginning. Everything we talk about today is for educational and informational purposes only and are not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health providers with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you learned with this presentation. See, I'm a healthcare provider, but I am not your healthcare provider. So when you guys watch this back, I want you to remember that. One of the things, like I said, these were the questions that I asked. I said, what is matured hop extract? I found out it was derived from the hops plant and it's aged to mature. I said, why do they keep calling it matured? Why don't they just say hop extract? Oh, because when it's matured, you get higher concentrations. And when the scientists looked at it, they knew exactly the level that they wanted it to be effective to optimize the effectiveness. So that's why they went with the matured hop extract. In addition to that, somebody's trying to call me right now. Can you guys still see my screen? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. And so when they went through the natural age, when it goes through the natural aging process, it's grown on the vine. I had to find all this stuff out. I said, oh, that makes it more potent. So they can use a lower milligram to get a better concentration and optimize the results, and it can be more effective. In addition to that, I said, what is this MHE3? That makes no sense to me. Why are they saying 3? And so I said, oh, because they have 3 different extracts, and those extracts include humulone, which reduces the inflammation that I talked about as a mechanism of action. It includes the lupulone, which stabilizes the blood sugar level, and that helps with insulin sensitivity, which that alone is worth getting the product. And then it has the xanthohumol, which stimulates thermogenesis, even when you're not exercising, through what a lot of us now understand through the process of activating the vagal nerve. And so after I understood what mature hop extract was, and that was my dad, who's the doctor who looked at this research with me saying, yes, we can see your screen. We were excited because if it just does one of these 3 things, it's good enough for us to take this ourselves. And so where did this come from? Everyone wants to know where this came from. Who are these scientists? And I was able to do some digging and find out that the company Phytogenica was not really into nutraceuticals, but they needed to get this product out to the world because what they did was they had a scientist who had a dream and he was in his car one day and he's like, you know what? What if I am able to just extract these 3 things? I would be able to help a lot of people. And I said, wow, that's interesting. And so you're able to go and listen to that scientist's story. Actually, his name is Alan. And you're able to listen to it if you go to, let me go to the special edition of the Winner's Circle. If you haven't listened to this, you guys, it answers a lot of questions. And this is something you can point your healthcare providers to that need to know that this is safe, it's effective. How did they come up with this process, this patent pending process? And this answers all of that. And so I was able to understand, just like Terry says, that it was too expensive to extract before. That's why we never were able to do it until this technology that we now have existed. And they were able to pull out these specific components. You guys, that's really important because a lot of people ask me, well, what about estrogen? What about all the the phenylephrines in it that can cause a harm? And I say, guess what, guys? That's not in there. You're worrying about something that is not in fix. They say, how do you know? I say, I know because I listened to the scientists and they say they pulled out exactly what they needed and left all the other stuff behind. That's what made it special. They looked at years of data and research that already existed, and they were able to tweak it so that they can come up with their own standard. And that standard was the amount of milligrams, the dosage that we need to yield the desired effects, and only the dosage that we need to yield the desired effects. So that, as a healthcare provider, was really important to me. But if you look at the last line on the screen, I say, after all that research, It still didn't matter because I wasn't taking the product. So I had to go back to Haley and said, all right, Haley, I've seen enough. I've heard enough. I'm ready to actually take this product myself. In addition to that, there was another claim, you guys, that was really important to me as a pharmacist, and that was no harmful side effects. I said, even aspirin has side effects. Anything we put in our mouth has side effects. How can we say there's no harmful side effects and no drug interactions? So I said, you know what? I need to go to my different databases. And what you're looking at here is when you're choosing a drug interaction checker, it needs to be accurate, it needs to be reliable. As a pharmacist, of course, I'm going to have the highest level of accuracy and reliability. But as a layperson, as someone who doesn't have that, I am going to teach you guys today how each and every one of you can start answering the question, does hops interact with the medications that you're taking and with the medications? If you get nothing else from today, this is going to be something you're going to be able to put into practice immediately. So of course it needs to be comprehensive, have a wide range of medications, including over-the-counter and herbal drugs. And a lot of the online ones that are available to everyone do not cover herbal drugs. And because they don't have that herbal check, we can't use it. But the one that I found that works is WebMD. And I was so happy that WebMD allows you, and each of you could type this into your web browser right now. Just go to webmd.com and type in drug interaction checker. Some of you have seen me use this and give it back to you when you ask me if it interacts. And this is how I'm able to say right away, nope, 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 there's no drug interaction. Let's do a live demonstration of this right now. So go to drug checker, and anybody can call out a drug right now, or I'll just name one. Let's look at a blood pressure one, like amlodipine, for example. Amlodipine. We type it in, and you just simply click on the word amlodipine. And the way you use this is do not put in 10 different drugs at the same time, because guess what? You're going to get drug interactions against other drugs, not against hops. So what you want to do when you're using this, if you don't get anything else, is you want to only type in hops, and you want to compare it, and look at that, you guys. 0 drug interactions found. I have done this now to over 450 different drugs, and they've all come back with 0 drug interactions. And that's powerful, because in my job every single day, it's my responsibility to tell patients if they're going to have an interaction and how long they need to space it out from those other medications to not have that interaction. But now each and every one of you has the ability to type in hops. And another thing that I need to really point out is, guess what? This is not fixed. This is the hops that has everything in it. Think about that. This has the estrogen in it. This has the phytoestrogen. This has all the parts of the plant that we don't even have in ours. So you know what that means? That means that fix is safer. It's safer than this. So you can type in other drugs like lisinopril. We can type in so many different things. They're all going to come back with 0 drug interactions. And if you can tell someone it's not going to interact, guess what you just did? You increase their belief factor, and now you yourself even believe more that you're recommending a safe product, because safety has to come first. And so let's wrap up. I know this is kind of long, but I want to teach as I go along. And let's talk about my personal story. I believe that we've all seen all these different things that are overwhelming the amount of overall benefits. If somebody could put in the chat the link to Dr. Ben's, I have it for you if you guys don't have it. He has a research company, Dr. Ben Bowers, and there's a link that I send out to all healthcare providers. When they see this list, they're like, how is this possible? There's a summary, and it's available to us in an ACE gem, and it's called MHBA, matured hop bitter acids, I believe, the white paper for that. If someone could put that in the chat, and if you guys don't have access to that, we'll make sure you have it too by the end of the call. But that white paper lists all of these different things, and even lists clinical trials and clinical studies in depth and in summation. And so what is visceral fat? I'm not going to go through all this. This is not a presentation. But again, this is here because it's an approach that you can use to talk to a healthcare provider. Always, 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 guys, throw yourself on your own sword. Even if you know the answer, you are not the expert here. Even as a doctor, when I talk to another doctor, I approach them with the way in that I don't know everything. I say, have you heard of this? I know visceral fat is really dangerous, but do you know all the things that visceral fat causes? Because I'm doing some research right now for a friend, and I had no idea. I'm taking an all natural product. I had no idea that visceral fat can cause all of these different things. They say, oh, yeah, yeah, I knew that. Of course. We studied that in medical school or pharmacy school or nursing school or chiropractor school, whatever. And I said, oh, you did? Well, tell me something. If you had an all natural product that could help you reduce your visceral fat, is that something you'd be interested in? Absolutely. I would love to have something like that. You know how many patients I could save? And say, wow, I might have something for you. You see how that works? So when you go to healthcare providers, you're never the expert, even though you might know more about that subject than they know. You are not the expert in that conversation. You always want to come to them with a question and say, you know what? I came across something and I think that it might be interesting, but I trust you and I'm on a health journey myself, and I just would like a second or a third opinion. I trust your opinion. You're a doctor, and I would love if you could just take a little bit of time. Are you open to that? Are you open to me sending you some information and you send them that link from Dr. Ben Bowers? You send them the white paper and say, if you could just take a look at this and get back to me and tell me what you think. If you're a doctor and they're a doctor, you can say, can you peer review this for me? They're always going to say, sure, send it to me. I'm really busy. I might not get to it right away. But remember, you're asking for them to peer review it. You're not asking them to sign up. You're not asking them to sell anything. Another way into doctors and healthcare say, I remember in pharmacy school that we talked about the 10th cranial nerve, and that was the vagus nerve. But that's all I remember. I don't remember all the things. Do you know anything about the vagal nerve and vagal tone? That's another way in. And you say, I can't remember. I think the vagal nerve has something to do with parasympathetic activity, but I don't really recall all that it does. Hey doc, while I'm, do you know about what does the vagal nerve do again? And they'll start, telling you whatever they remember and say, or they'll be honest and say, you know what, I studied that 20, 30 years ago. I don't really know about the vagal nerve as much. I know it does this, and I know it can help you get into parasympathetic, and that can help you with rest and digest, but that's all I remember. What are you asking me this for? And I say, I'm asking you because someone introduced me to an all-natural product that helps stimulate the vagal nerve. And I was told if you stimulate the vagal nerve, you can communicate with all other organs in your body. Is that true? They say, you know what? That sounds familiar, but honestly, I don't know. Send me that. Send me that information that you're talking about. And I'm interested to look that up because I know about electrostimulation of the vagal nerve. I know about taking deep breaths and yoga and all these, but I've never heard of a natural product, a substance. Is it safe? I say, I don't know. I want you to check it out and tell me. I think it's safe. I think it's effective. Always come to them with the idea that you need more information when you're talking to healthcare people because they like to be the smartest people in the room. And it's okay if they're transparent enough and they're honest, they'll let you know that they're not. But you don't want to make them feel to lose face. You never want them to be embarrassed. So the way that you do that is you come to them and say, I have no idea and I want to know more. Please help me find out. So let's finish up with my story, you guys. And this is the other thing you talk to them. You can say, traditionally, isn't this what we tell our patients? You have to have a high protein diet, have restrictive eating, you have to work out, no processed foods, you have to have gut healthy microbiome and all this stuff. And you could even do cold plunge. Isn't this what you've normally heard? They'll be like, yeah, all that stuff works. Absolutely. That's exactly what I tell my patients. Say, what if there was a product that could help reduce unhealthy cravings? Would you be interested in that? They say, sure. Of course I would. Are you talking about GLPs? You say, no. I'm not talking about the GLP-1 agonist. I'm talking about something that's never existed before, that's brand new. They say, oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of it. They say, what is it? It's MHC3. I've never heard of that before. Please tell me more. Say, well, it also allows you to feel full longer. Wow, that sounds like a GLP. But I say, but it's not, because it also increases the oxygenated blood flow to help you recover from workouts. And it also promotes healthy gut microbiomes. It also helps with digestion. It also improves your sleep, and it also helps with stress management. And on top of all that, it burns visceral fat through fat metabolism through something called thermogenesis. Have you ever heard of anything like this before? And they're going to say no. I've never heard of it. And it sounds too good to be true. You got to send me something now, because now I'm intrigued. You're telling me that the one product can do all these things? You've got them, you guys. You have got their interest. And so then you send that link, you give them the third-party references, because they want that primary literature for themselves. And there's so much primary literature available. And now, you guys, I will get to my personal testimony. I've been trying to share it throughout, but basically, you guys, I was diagnosed with end stage congenital congestive heart failure 6 years ago at the age of 43. And I was looking for an overall health fix. And Haley knew this about me, because she's heard me share my health story before. And I didn't even tell my wife, but I was actually thinking about getting on one of those GLPs, even though it had so many side effects. And I didn't know what to do. I was depressed. I had gained 15, 20 extra pounds because my wife, and I'm not blaming my wife, I'm taking full accountability, but she opened a bakery called Nothing But Cakes, and I ate all the cakes. I ate every cake. She brought home a cake every night, and I couldn't stop myself. It was so delicious. And I didn't know what to do. Now the holidays are coming up, and I think I'm going to gain more weight. But praise God, I had an open mindset when Haley said this to me, even though I was very doubtful. And I said to her, I need to lose 15 pounds. She said, take a look at this. You saw the research that I did. And I said, I'm about to turn 50 next year, which is this year, and I want to lose weight. As you can see right here, you guys, document your own story. There's nothing more powerful than you being able to tell your own personal fixed story. And what I can show you here is my visceral fat went from 11 to 8, which it's never ever done before in the 6 years I've been diagnosed. I've never been able to move that needle. It actually went up to 12 or 13 a couple times because I gained more weight. And I was able to lose now almost 22 pounds. It fluctuates between 20, 21, 22 pounds. It depends on which day I hop on the scale, but those are all great numbers when I only wanted to lose 15 pounds. In addition to that, I've been able to track my weight loss journey using the Me360 app, and you can see, look at that body fat, how it's gone down. You can see my fitness index has gone up. When I first started this, you guys, I couldn't even walk 2 miles in 1 hour. And now I'm walking 4 to 5 miles a day in 1 hour. And it's all because my energy has increased and because I had an open mindset. I'm on day 115. 115 days I've been doing this. And I'm still taking it twice a day. And I'm still seeing new and more benefits, including no more headaches, including no more back pain, including no more brain fog, including no more anxiety, no more excessive tiredness, no more belly fat. I don't recognize myself sometimes when I walk by the mirror. I'm like, ooh, who is that? Okay, I see you. I have no more excessive unhealthy appetite cravings. I've increased my blood circulation. I've gone to my cardiologist and they said, we don't know what you're doing. So I pulled out the bottle and showed them what I was doing. And they said, keep it up. You look amazing. We don't even need to see you for another year. And so I'm so grateful, you guys, because my heart health has improved. And I'm just so grateful that I said, yes, I have no more excuses. And anybody that comes along on this journey will also have no more excuses about getting healthy.